So this video is kind of going to be, for lack of a better term, an infomercial. I'm bringing a new tool to the market, something I've designed. I've been working on it for about 4 years. I had a little bit of a breakthrough finally at the beginning of the year by reaching out to another maker in our community, and we're going to be kind of collabing on this one to make the best product possible. And I could use your help because I'm not quite sure how to market it, because I always like to do these 30 to 60 second commercials for some of the products I sell in the middle of my videos. Kind of a sponsorship, but I'm sponsoring myself, and I don't have any funny ideas on how to do that yet. So maybe in the comments down below, y'all can give me some ideas. Now, as I stated in an earlier video a few weeks ago, beginning of the year, I kind of committed myself that I would start turning a lot of my production work, instead of the straight wholesale batch production to toy stores, I might cut down a little bit on that one and start reintroducing the stuff that used to sell here on my channel when I was, doing fundraisers for the woodworking school. Because in the past, I've sold a lot of tools that I made here. And the first one I'm bringing back, I did kind of a pre-sale, was this mallet. And basically, I really like the design. I've refined it over the years. It allows you to work 3 different ways, tapping it, holding it on the side like I do most of the time, and then really adding some strength to it. It's just a really form-fitting mallet, and it's become the go-to at my workbench. It handles just about everything I talked about in that earlier video. Some of the other tools that I've done in the past, I sold a lot of hand planes. I've already got some blades. I'll probably make another batch of those in the future. I don't know if I'm going to be doing the squares again, simply because I'm kind of leaning away from digital woodworking, and I can't really do this custom carving anymore. But who knows? Maybe I'll just make them and let y'all carve them yourselves. I will be bringing back my bow saws. I'm working on a new design for the brass ends on that one. And this is something I can produce without doing a pre-sale. Same for my dovetail markers, which I'm still working on making them out of aluminum here in the shop. And I might do this mallet, but my #1 tool selling item have always been these French squares. I'm going to really batch them out again. I've probably sold close to 1,000 of them over the past decade. So, and for those of y'all that ordered mallets, we've got the wood in, and I'm going to be beginning that production run. As soon as I finish editing this video, you can follow along on Instagram to see how the progress is going there. But I wanted to introduce you to that tool I've been working on for about 5 years, and I started working on it because so many people commented, "Hey, what is that in your videos?" every time I used it. And for a while, I was answering them, you can find them here, there, that kind of stuff. And then it kind of got to the point where, I was planning on making my own, so I go, hey, they're coming soon, but I ran into so many problems. And y'all, if y'all been following me for a while, you've seen this thing right here. I use it on probably every single project I've ever made, with the exception of the tools that, like some of the batch production work I do on the lathe, where I don't do any sanding whatsoever. But anytime I'm doing a project, not only are you seeing me use this in the middle of the project, but this is generally the very last tool to touch the project. It's basically just a little foam pad, Velcro, and it utilizes these 3-inch sanding discs that power sanders use. I picked them up at wood turning symposiums because basically on the checkout at most places that sell sandpaper, they have a little bin over here. They just sell them in the bin. Yeah, I pick up a few every year and I use them up. Now here's the problem I've always had with these. They're made of foam, and it's a special type of foam. The closest I've come to discovering in my research of trying to make my version with refinements. It's a kind of rubber you use in your sneakers, in between the sole and the tread, that little squishy rubber. But you can see it degrades really quickly in the harsh use that I have, especially when I'm turning. Plus the fact that within 6 months it starts to get hard, and when you bend it, it starts to crack. And so these are just disposable. Also the fact that when they make these, they're making them for these 3-inch discs, and you can tell the people that may batch them out, they never really used it. because you don't want a 3-inch circle if you're using a 3-inch disc, because invariably you're going to get it off a little bit, and some of those harsh hooks, I guess you call that one. This is hook and this is loop. It actually will kind of scratch your surface at the finer grits, and you'll be chasing it forever. So what I have always done is whenever I first get a new one, I'd sand the outside of it so those little hooks wouldn't get involved, just in case I misdid it. Plus the fact that, I mean, as you can see, you tend, if you're turning concave, you tend to use up the sandpaper on the outside more than the inside, like when you're doing the inside of the bowl, because you're pressing there. That's where all the pressure is. So there's just some flaws in this design. So for years when I was coming up with my stuff, those first 3 years, basically, I was going to people that made foam to try and get them to glue the different portions of it. A lot of them just didn't want to deal with me because, hey, we are in a huge market. I'm never going to sell 10,000 of these. I was like wanting to do batches of maybe 100 at a time, and that would have been several $1,000s for them to even attempt, which it just wasn't financially viable. And then I started seeing if I could just order the foam and do the glue ups myself, do the cutouts, all that kind of stuff, and just getting this quality of foam, even though when I say quality, it doesn't last that long. I mean, these really are disposable. It was just a nightmare, and I could never figure out how to get them done myself. Then I had an idea about not using foam at all and just coming up with another substance. So I then kind of reached out to Jason Thigpen. He runs Texas Heritage Woodworking. He makes a lot of tools for us in the craft out of leather and stuff like that. He's building a huge shop that he's going to transfer into school. It's just really fun to watch him build this up over the years, because he's doing it all by himself and really doing it right. Follow him on Instagram. I'll put links to all that stuff down in the description. I talked with him about it and showed him my idea, and he is actually going to make these for me. It's a very similar design, except now it's being built out of some really thick leather. And the reason why I have to go to Jason to do this kind of stuff is I wanted to have this, the Velcro sewed on, because one of the things with these, especially on the turning, is you develop so much heat in them that it just kind of melts all this stuff and just doesn't stay on. So if you're really going to abuse it like I did, I wanted a backup. Now in the version that you are going to get, I'm going to make a few more changes to it, and we're going to get double stitching on this side, for the simple reason I found out that ripping off the paper, I probably put a little bit more pressure on them than I expected. Now, here is the one I've been putting through the abuse over the past, I want to say 4 months now, when he gave me a bunch of prototypes, and just really hammering on the lathe. Y'all see me work it in the past few videos. I've kind of been sticking it in, and there are some real benefits of using the leather that I did not expect. In wood turning, heat is a real problem, because you're turning at 500, 800 RPMs on something like a bowl, and you're sanding out all your tear out and stuff like that. Or if you're just holding sandpaper, you'll actually burn your fingers. That's one of the reasons why I originally liked using this one for those final shapings, just corners and stuff like that. It's much easier on my hand, but I did not realize the amount of feel this foam dampened out. The leather, I can actually feel it as the wood bowls are going around, so you can feel, hey, there's still a little tear out right here. It really surprised me with that ability. Plus the fact that it stays pliable. This stuff gets hard and brittle. I mean, you can see it's folding at a pivot point now, not just curving. This stuff, this one I've been using, just stays pliable. And the fact that I can put pressure and it kind of forms a dome on the center over time, even though I've been abusing it for so long. It's just, the leather really made a difference for me in the usability of it. So I'm calling this thing the MakePretty. It's kind of a term I got from some writers and creators out there. I've already talked to them, and they're going to allow me to use that term, because this truly is the last tool that you're going to have touch pretty much all your work. It's not going to do a lot of bulk work, but you can look in all my videos Something like this has been around. I've kept one at my hand tool station. I have one at my lathe. I have one just random around over by the bandsaw, stuff like that. They're so useful. Again, you put different grits on it. It's just the fact that real quickly, you can take a board, you can break the edges. You can add a chamfer. You can take the chamfers you've already created and just soften those sharp edges so that they won't dent in normal use. You find tear out in the middle of a table. Not only you take a card scraper, scrape it out, but you don't want to see that indentation. So here you go. All 4 grits blended in. The fact that it's got a little bit of firmness means you're not going to round over stuff if you don't want to. And it's just the convenience of having it. You just end up going over your entire project right before you put the finish on. The Make Pretty stage. You finish it off, now there's just a little bit of touches to make it pretty. Oh, and the last feature of this that I want to talk about is this is not a true 3 inches, and that is done on purpose. Because, you know, you have your 3-inch section. If you just put it over, there's a little bit of overlay on the side. That way you can shove it into corners and you have kind of a, you don't have a safety edge that might damage the end. But if you do want that safety edge, all you have to do is place your finger on the side you're placing it on, and there you go. You can get the sandpaper right up to the edge and it'll overhang more on one side or the other. You also notice that it's not a complete circle right here of Velcro. That's important because you've seen how fast I've been ripping this on and off. Well, in the turning world, I'll probably go 2 to 3 bowls going through the finer grits. The rougher grits, they'll last forever. I can just rip them off and exchange them. And if I want to use more than 4 different grits, that's how fast I can swap it out. If you're just using this for your flat work or even metal work or stuff like that, I'm telling you, one set of these 3-inch sanding paper will probably last you a year. Because all you're doing is breaking stuff. This is not doing the bulk work. You use your random orbit sander for a large tabletop, and then you're looking at the shadow lines, you see the difference, you take this to it. And in case you don't know, a pro tip, if you're using a power sander, the last thing you need to do is hand sand with the grain. Always with the grain, always by hand. You'll just get a much better finish. Well, voila. Put your 400 grit on there, just go over your small projects, you're all set. It's more of a blending action a lot of times that way. So, there we go. The Make Pretty from Worth the Effort, made by Jason Thigpen from Texas Heritage. It's going to be one of those shocking tools that you just find a use for once you have it. But until you have something like this, you don't really realize it. I mean, how many of y'all right now already have 400 grit, 300 grit, 200 grit squares of sandpaper? You just kind of stash it back there so you can grab over, sand it, put it back, grab the next one, sand it kind of stuff. That kind of situation. This solves it all. And I'm going to be selling it with a kind of an introductory set of sandpaper grits, the ones that I use the most. So you don't even have to reach out and buy sandpaper for quite a while if you're a flat worker. If you're a wood turner, you probably already have it because these are the same sandpaper discs that you use for most of your power sanding. And this is one of those things, you'll power sand it, and then the last thing, what do you need to do? Hand sand it with the grain. And on something that's going in a circle, means you have to stop it, pull it off, hold it, and sand with the grain. This is perfect for that one. Because at that point in time, you're going to be realizing, damn it, tear out here and here. Sand a little bit more higher grits, then blend it in, flip it over. I'll put links down below, but what I want to ask you is all of my products, I've always tried to do a 30-second to 60-second commercial that I could put into my other videos to sell this kind of stuff. I haven't figured out a funny angle for this Make Pretty, other than the fact that, you know, how often you'll see me in my shop doing my fingernails with it. I need jokes. How can I market this in a quick commercial for future videos? Leave those ideas down below. I would really appreciate it. And there'll be a quick link to where I'm selling it on the thing. Once again, Worth the Effort Make Pretty, now made out of uber thick leather, which unexpectedly gives you a much better feel, but it's just a convenience of something that is now going to last probably your lifetime. not 3 to 6 months.